Are you ready to take the quantum path to personal health? This is Robert Manni, host of Guys TV, and this week my special guests are Dr. Amit Goswami and Valentina Onisor. It all starts right here, right now on Guys TV. You can also catch me on KCAA Radio here in Southern California, Guys Radio, my worldwide podcast, and now UK Health Radio all weekend long. Guys TV, Guys Radio, thanks for your support. Okay, Guys Radio, very special time of the show. We've got our special guests today, and they're coming to us from India, from Calcutta, Dr. Amit Goswami and also Valentina Onisor. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Dr. Goswami, as you may have heard of, he's one of the most prominent quantum physicists in the world. He's a retired professor of physics at University of Oregon, where he taught for about 30 years. He's a renowned pioneer of the new paradigm of quantum science based on primacy of consciousness. I've had him on the show a number of times, and he actually helped me in my personal life with my own health crisis, if you will. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. Valentina Onisor, she's been on before. She's a medical doctor, practicing physician, pioneer in the quantum integrative medicine, specializing in family medicine and integrates conventional medicines with various systems of alternative medicine, which is really kind of old school, which is now the new school: acupuncture, Ayurveda, naturopathy, homeopathy, and aromatherapy rather. So let's get right to it. First of all, today we're going to talk about quantum integrative medicine. We're going to talk about health, disease prevention, and healing. The name of the book is Quantum Integrative Medicine, and it's by Dr. Amit Goswami and Valentina R. Onisor. They're my special guests today, and welcome back to Guys Radio to both of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Robert. Good to be here.
Okay, let's start right at the beginning. So I'll start with Dr. Goswami. You wrote your seminal book, The Quantum Doctor, in 2004, and you call this new book A Paradigm for Health, Disease Prevention, and Healing. What has happened in the field of quantum health over the past 2 decades that led you to write this book? And also, doctor, what has happened in really in the medical field and in terms of health itself and disease and medicine and all of this stuff put together? What has happened over the last 20 years?
I think the biggest news is that love is getting some attention, finally. You know, for a long time, physicians just would be very reluctant to believe that love, relationships, these things have much to do with it. Our major accomplishment in the book, and this is where Valentina and I really collaborated together, is to realize that heart is very real. We have self in the brain, everybody knows about it, but we discovered that there is a self in the heart, and it's experimentally verified already. The data exists already for it. The heart becomes coherent when we allow vulnerability, when the immune system is suspended momentarily. In that moment, if we have proper intention, if we are prepared, then we can take a quantum leap, and the heart becomes quantum coherent. These coherence have been proved experimentally. And this quantum heart is where love is the feeling we get from. And then mind gives meaning, so we get the emotion of love. And this emotion of love gives immune system a very needed rest. Just like the brain needs rest every night, immune system also needs rest, and that happens from time to time. If we have a loved one in our life, we look at him, look at her, and we get the immune system to rest, and that gives us a healthy immune system. And you know, everybody knows that that is the key to avoid all those chronic disease that cause disaster in our life, especially late in life.
Okay, for context, you and Valentina kind of got together in 2016. How did this come about, and how did you work together? And then as we continue with the interview, either of you can answer any of the questions.
Well, I'll answer my version of it, which is very interesting. Valentina attended a workshop that I was giving, and she presented a paper that she wanted me to read. And, I was very non-committal initially. Lots of people give me lots of things to read. And because she was an MD doctor, I thought I was compelled to look at it, but giving to a professional. And I found quite a bit of wisdom in the paper. So we started working together, and we were working really on a book on intelligence. That book, by the way, has not been finished yet. This is so interesting. And then we were looking at some data, new data, and Valentina called me and said, well, look at this data, which was suggesting the coherence of the heart for loving people. That was the experiment. And I looked at it, and here was the missing piece that I have been struggling for years, because the heart is involved and the immune system is suspended. That idea was there already in the quantum doctrine. What was lacking was that how do we get an experience in the heart? This is crucial, because only then resting the immune system by quantumizing the heart makes sense. So this crucial thing that Valentina immediately saw the importance of, that crucial data, was just so basic to our writing this book. That started the book, really. But that's my version.
Okay. Valentina, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I remember when we spoke about Manipura chakra then, immediately, because I was very much fond of fasting. And then immediately, I mean, we remember that when we speak about chakras, which is very important in chakra medicine and chakra psychology also. And then also immediately, I think we clicked on the idea that there is a self also in the level of Manipura chakra in the belly area. And how important is that? I had already my mother with Parkinson, and they were already studies about this. There are people studying about it on the neurons in the belly area about future
right?
possible therapies there. And yeah, that moved it. And we met, I think, 7 years ago, and so many things got done since then.
Okay.
Very, very quickly.
Let's for the benefit of our listeners, and some may not be as have that much knowledge about what quantum integrative medicine is. As we can understand, everybody's just trying to do their thing and stay healthy. And I want to introduce that to them. So let's start at the beginning. You've got quantum integrative medicine. So let's start with the term quantum. For a lot of people, I don't think they know what that means. Could one of you please just quickly articulate what does quantum mean? Because we're going to be using that term throughout our conversation.
I'll very quickly define quantum. Newtonian objects, as everybody knows, they're the ordinary objects of our life. And Newtonian physics says that their movement is completely determined by the physical laws. This is the idea, that deterministic. The world is a machine. Objects are machines. We are machines. That's the idea of the Newtonian worldview. Quantum physics tells us that this idea has fault at the base, because quantum objects initially only thought of for the submicroscopic world, like atoms, molecules, elementary particles. These objects, they're not determined objects. They're waves of possibility for consciousness to choose from. This is very, very interesting. We come into the picture without us, observer. Quantum measurement, quantum possibility can never become actuality. The manifest world requires our presence. So medicine changes right away. What happens is then in medicine, for a long time, people believed it's all mechanical, just test, measure blood, measure sputum, measure urine, and you got it. Doctor's role is minimal. Actually, they're already talking about AI replacing the traditional family doctor. But truly, it's too premature, because the human being, the healer, and the healee, the person who is coming, both are very important in matters of healing. So that's our second most important contribution. This is where preventive medicine comes in. This is where we wrote an entire chapter. Actually, Valentina wrote most of it, because she is the one who is actually a practicing doctor, that who gets to be a healer. A healer is one who can relate to the patient as a person, not this mechanical robot-like interaction we have today.
Mhm.
Take some measurements, okay, this is what is going on, and this is what you do, drug prescription and all that. No,
Okay.
medicine healing is much more than that.
Okay, so integrative medicine, for the benefit of our listeners, we have allopathic medicine, which is a traditional Western medicine, which is usually about treating symptoms. And then we have, and not always, but it's less about preventative, but you have something wrong with you and it gets addressed. Then we have the other type of medicine, the traditional Chinese medicine, the Ayurvedic medicine, some of the old school medicine, which is really kind of new school now. When we talk about integrative, it's pulling them together. So it's a combination of Western and Eastern modalities. Talk to us about how they work together.
Amit, let me just start with the fact that we have to address, first of all, the health paradigms that exist. So again, we have this modern allopathic medicine, which is based on primacy of matter. That's what we learn in the medical schools, right?
Primacy of matter, okay.
The material body is what exists, so they work on the material body only, and especially molecular biology, and then in certain compartment of disease, such as those caused by bacteria, viruses, we use that, so again, it shouldn't be it's not something that is to be, you have to choose only this or only that. You have to know what to use where, but then first to understand this health paradigm that has to be shifted, because again, if you check the word healing, it's the same etymological root as wholeness, and that means that healing in the ultimate sense to achieve wholeness. But again, what we have nowadays in the medical system, allopathic system especially, is rather pessimistic, if you want. It's a focus on disease, right, rather than on health. So people don't even think that miraculous healing, so-called miraculous, exists. They don't take it serious. They think it's just a coincidence when you think of later on the term of quantum healing that maybe we'll speak about, So it's kind of, we try to replace in this pessimistic system the so-called miracle with the coincidence, and with an attitude, and then we create a world where such healing miracles, is not possible. And it's so much proven now already. Again, speaking of quantum healing, that term came with Dr. Deepak Chopra, first of all, So again, we have so many terms for disease, and we keep inventing them, if you see more and more in the same pessimistic system, But there's one term referring to health, So we have to ask ourselves, what is health, first of all, And the essence of this new paradigm of healing is that one has to look upon the physical body, if you want, as the material expression of the spirit. And there are also the other bodies. We have to become aware of them, And then from this perspective, the health problems would be messages of transformation, if you want, ultimately, to become aware of where we are, Because again, we speak about resonance in this book.
Okay.
If you take it further, Patanjali, a great Indian sage, said that all the suffering comes from ignorance eventually, ultimately. And the ultimate disease, the root disease, would be the illusory thinking that we are separate from the whole. And you see, nowadays we live so much separate. That's what ultimately is called also ignorance. And to heal that separateness is to become aware that we are the whole, and we have never been separate, that the separateness is an illusion. But again, we don't have to go so far, but to understand that health is a dynamic condition of the human being. And again, we have to see that quantum worldview is describing how we have not one, just, but 5 bodies, and that disease from the quantum point of view is at least in part due to a lack of synchrony between the different bodies. And the healing would consist in restoring that wholeness. And then we speak in this book how disease occurs, but then again, modern allopathic medicine is mostly evidence-based, And in physics, the fundamental basic of all science in the materialist worldview, requires theory and evidence. That's fine, But again, it's an evidence-based science bound to be still incomplete and inconsistent in that way. And then the alternative medicine systems that I'm very fond of, they have theory, but they are based on ancient dualistic worldview, with of this question of how these separate entities having nothing in common interact is still unsolved, And then the quantum physics is giving the integrative metaphysics, if you want, that consciousness is the ground of all being, in which matter and mind are quantum possibilities for consciousness to choose from. So again, the first thing was to use the new quantum metaphysics to provide the basic science for the systems of alternative medicine and begin a tentative integration of medicine, which was done in Amit's book, the Quantum Doctor.
Okay.
Then we took it further.
Okay, so the consciousness seems to be the key to the alternative medicine, and that's a differentiator from the evidence-based medicine, because the consciousness can play a role working with the different types of bodies. For instance, the energetic body, the chakras, etc. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, wholeness is an aspect of consciousness. That's the way to think of it. Consciousness being wholeness, and eventually then healing is spiritual healing. But we don't have to go that far. In between, there is healing of material bodies. Like if you have a cut in your finger, then material body healing is enough. There is vital energy, like you are very tired, chronic fatigue. There, the vital energy healing is the most important aspect. This is why medicine doesn't do much good in dealing with fatigue. You really have to take care of the vitality. And then there's mind-body healing, stress-caused healing. This, like cancer. Why can't, we have already spent like $1 trillion easily on cancer research, but it does no good, because the basic idea of what produces cancer that people look for is some material mechanism. But material mechanism is not causing cancer. It's the immune system malfunction plus a cellular malfunction that is taking place that is producing these cells that grow indefinitely.
Okay.
So both malfunctions are due to our misusing of possibilities within consciousness, vital and mental possibilities. We have to get into quantum healing, like Valentina was suggesting. Quantum healing is the idea of replacing the old possibilities that don't work anymore and replace them by new possibilities through creative investigation. So basically, it's the creative healing.
Okay.
So the third aspect of quantum integrative medicine of the book, important aspect, is that we take into account all the 5 bodies: physical, vital, mental, supramental, which is the spiritual soul kind of spiritual body, advanced mental and vital, higher body, and then spirit itself. All 5 bodies are important, and how to access new potentiality of the 5 bodies via creativity, quantum healing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Robert, sorry, let me add something before we forget, because I know the time will run very fast with you. Always it's like that, So something very important to really consider, is, again, because as Amit started, that we are not machines, machines cannot change and cannot transform and cannot really heal, So it's the fact that our physiology, which organ functions, they are actually not genetic in origin. Instead, they are epigenetic, and their origin is actually outside of the genes, and the source is non-local and therefore non-material. So why is that important? Because the human, then in this case, gathering this idea, the human physiology is not a permanent fixture, but changeable, via creativity, as Amit just mentioned, And that's very, very important. We created a program called Quantum Yoga also, which is, again, part and parcel of anything that has to do with healing. And we use various practices from various traditions for that. And there's a lot of evidence about this fact that physiology can really change. The application is direct also in gerontology, speaking about aging and so many things.
Let me put a button on that, because you touched on something, and forgive me for interrupting, but I just want to, it's an important point, epigenetics. So, and again, my guests are Dr. Amit Goswami and Valentina Onisor. We're talking about quantum integrative medicine. So you mentioned epigenetics, just for the benefit of our listeners. So a lot of people think, oh, my dad had a heart attack at age 50, I'm going to have a heart attack at age 50. And sometimes that happens because people believe that. Or my uncle had cancer and my grandfather had cancer and my mother had cancer and I'm going to get cancer. but epigenetics says that that doesn't have to happen because why?
Because the physiology is not genetic. It's not genes that do not produce physiology. Genes have the program to make proteins, which actually carries out the physiological functions. But the physiology itself is what genes are activated in a cell belonging to a particular organ. For example, the cells in the liver will not make the same proteins as the cells in the brain. They'll make different proteins because the functions are different. But what is guiding the genes to activate them? That is where the epigenetics come in, and eventually we get to the concept of there has to be a field. Rupert Sheldrake has given it a name, morphogenetic field, that activates the mechanism that then turns on the cellular genes.
So Doctor, how can and Doctor and Valentina, how can then people, our listeners, what can they do to work with their epigenetic possibilities to prevent having a recurrence of some of the diseases that have run through their family?
Yeah, well, it's a big question. I mean, and it's not going to be enough just a simple answer, because it takes a lot of work. To me, it's really about knowing yourself again. And you have to see what resonance was there, in your life until then. And it's not just a lifestyle, obviously. It's this deeper awareness of on what we are, where we are now, actually, because again, I mean, meditation, of course, is part of this, like learning to become aware and becoming aware that we have these little brains in the body areas, again, of the heart, navel, also here and also here, so we speak about really little brains there, and that means a self-identity in the various areas of our body, so it's as Amit mentioned, you have to learn how to use creativity, which of course starts with learning to set up an intent, an intent of healing. Nowadays, we are kind of very superficial and we want a quick fix. So there's nothing like quick fix. There's nothing like free lunch. You have to understand that. People just want this quick thing, and if possible, without pain, without any kind of work. That's not really possible, so it takes work, and sometimes it can take lives, all this work, but it's worth it, because again, it depends from which point of view you're considering the whole story. If you take in account also reincarnation, then it's even easier to understand, because again, we carry programs, we carry memories with us, from a life to the other. And then again, maybe we have certain areas more developed because again, we have worked already on them.
Okay.
And then it will be easier in another life. There's a lot. It's related to karma, to dharma. But again, it's understanding that is necessary to have it. And the more you have it, the more you can see where's the problem, and you can work with it again with intent and through the practices that are according to your tradition, according to what you meet in your way. There are many things to do.
Okay, so let's talk about a couple of those modalities. So you mentioned meditation. What does meditation do physically to people as well as emotionally to help them on their path to better health and longevity?
Well, for one thing, the one meditation that is really very, very helpful for people to learn is to meditate, learn to first meditate in a concentrated way, focusing, so that the mind overall slows down. That's the most important effect. Once the organs slow down a bit, including the brain, then we can be aware that thoughts and emotions are passing clouds in the mind sky. They are not staying there permanently unless we repeatedly bring them about, and we don't have to. So when a negative emotion arises, which is what produces this mental stress, which is what causes eventually the chronic disease, these mental stresses, one does not have to react to it in an expressive way that you also become negative emotional or suppress. This is the thing that men especially do, because suppression makes you very effective in the work. But of course, it eventually erupts.
Right.
Very bad. Being a male, I myself went through coronary surgery, so I know how suppression produces these blocks in the artery and all that. But the meditation is saying you don't have to suppress, you don't have to express. You can just meditate on these negative emotions and they pass.
Okay.
They pass. That's the key. This is the key meditation that people need to learn.
And
Robert,
Good.
so if you want, like again, concentration, and it's again types of meditation. Concentration meditation is to start with, yeah, if you want to be serious, and then eventually go into meditation. So these are great exercises for activating the parasympathetic nervous system, you know, and then in this way you balance this usual overstimulation of the sympathetic nervous system, you know, in today's stressful world, yeah. And then some of the harmful effects of the cortisol, the stress hormone, will be eliminated. But the idea is to enter into what we call the preconscious, you know, where there is, if you want, more quantum self in the experience on the average. And the chances are high that we fall into the quantum self and eventually into that what is called expansion of consciousness. Yeah?
fantastic.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah.
doctor.
The other thing that I would like to add, very important thing, very simple thing, is that, you know, those two cells that we mentioned, heart chakra and the navel chakra. Navel chakra at the navel, that area, stomach, gallbladder, pancreas especially, liver, and then the heart area, heart, and of course the immune system. Those are the major parts of the area. Learn to have awareness that I really have experiences in the heart and experience in the navel. It's not like brain is all where we have every experience, including emotions. No, emotions have a component that we call feeling, and those feelings also arise in these two places, navel and the heart. When we become aware of it, for example, if we have awareness of the navel chakra, and if we can make a quantum leap, working through quantum healing, which Valentina already mentioned, it's not a free lunch. But if we can awaken the quantum in the navel, then we'll never suffer from diabetes of type 2. It's entirely because pancreas goes wrong in its functions if we have the regular physiology of the pancreas. But if we take the higher physiology after a quantum leap, then pancreas becomes much more healthy, much more balanced in terms of insulin production, and the sugar will never become unbalanced in the bloodstream. Heart, I already mentioned, immune system function great if we learn heart awareness and make quantum leaps, which is just having a love component in your life. So those two things plus this awareness meditation. This is almost like a magic bullet. Prevention. If you keep these three, you will get preventive, you will be able to prevent all chronic disease. This is absolutely our firm belief. We have some data already proving it. People just should accept this.
So
this one thing.
Okay. Can our listeners then focus on the different chakras, the energy centers, and when they do their meditation, think about or focus on consciously the organs that are attached, involved with the different chakras, and then go inside and see what's going on there and see what the possibilities and really get a sense as to what's going on there? Is that how people would do that on a regular basis? It's really about consciously getting more in touch with the various aspects of your body and your feelings and your emotions. Is that correct?
It's part of it, you know, but again, what we talk about is really about becoming aware of this possibility of an elevated physiology for the organs. And it starts in the navel and the heart, you know, this is the beginning. So all the chakras are important, but some of them are secondary, yeah, which they have the chance to collapse in these areas where we speak about self, you know, where we have a bundle of nerves. And the first bundle of nerves in the navel area, yeah, and men, you see, if you know, I'm sure you know already about chakra psychology, the men who are more self-confident, you know, why? Because again, they have the navel usually more developed, you know, they also breathe abdominally more naturally, the men, you saw, and women, on the contrary, they have contracted this area. So that's the first place to look at, you know, nowadays is so much problems with the, I don't know, with problems, uterus problems, you know, all kind of fibromas, all kind of cysts. So all kind of, indeed, the organs which are associated with the chakras, you know, they are telling you about the situation at the level of the chakras, yeah. But again, the idea is that all this, I mean, we are contending that an elevated physiology for these organs has been actually universally available for all humanity for millennia, if you want. And this higher physiology has kept us from chronic disease in the past, like cancer, yeah. But this is rapidly changing, unfortunately, because of this faulty worldview nowadays and lifestyle, fast, you know. And again, if you just see what technology is doing to us, you know, so kind of we are so easily getting disconnected from ourselves, you know. So that the physiology that conventional medicines assumes is not right to this extent. And human physiology, again, is not a given unchangeable one either, yeah. But again, we have rediscovered the mechanism of changing the physiology of organs in some scientific practical detail, and we call it vital creativity. So if people would like to check this book on creativity that Amit has written, we understand more the steps on creativity, which again, you have to start with vital creativity, with getting back to perceiving the feelings in your body. The brain is not enough. The brain is not going to do, I mean, we can talk about it. It's very important, you know, if you want, because again, people know more about mental creativity. But actually, when you speak or are serious about your inner transformation, you have to start with what is called vital creativity, you know, and we can really engage in vital creativity and the inner development in the vital arena, you know, working with this chakra. For example, Hatha Yoga, if you have a serious program, or even Tai Chi would help a lot, you know, or Qigong, or this kind of practices. And it's not going to be so difficult. But again, usually we denigrate feelings, and especially feelings in the body. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, if you set up an intent from the ego, you know, it's not going to be enough. So let's say you ego, which is connected with the, you know, with the mind. Yeah. So you cannot create any new reality only from the ego level. Yeah. But again, the brain is offering us indeed a bunch of conditioned possibilities, you know, each of them being weighed by a certain reward, you know, and that's how we usually get conditioned, right? And from that, we can only create a new combination at best, yeah? So we need to get into a state of expansion of consciousness, and then only, you know, so it's kind of, you start with inspiration, this process of creativity. You get to that. Yeah? And then, of course, the easiest gate for non-locality, for expression of consciousness, is non-locality. And how we start with that, again, love. Love is the easiest way, is the best gate to get into this, to start with.
Let's get into some more of the specifics that people can use. You mentioned fasting. A lot of people nowadays are into intermittent fasting, which is you eat for 6 hours traditionally, and then 18 hours you don't eat. I've been doing it for the past year, and I've noticed that I'm used to it now. I don't eat till noon, and my body likes that time off. What is your sense? I know you talk about, Dr. Goswami, the water fasting and my wife's done like 21 days of water fasting, and she fasts quite often. She's a Hatha yoga teacher. She teaches the yoga teachers, but it seems to be very good for I feel great when I'm doing any type of fast. I've done 3 or 4 days with her with water, and then I do the intermittent ongoing. Talk to us about fasting and some of the benefits and how it affects some of the different maladies, like even cancer.
Amit or me?
Well,
Dr. Goswami.
I too practice the 16-8 the eating habit, and that works for me. It is very good to keep the pancreas healthy. But of course, if the chakra is already energy somewhat blocked, then you have to go through more. And Valentina is an expert of how to intermittently fast for a day or two at a time. That is much more effective than this regular 16-8 kind of diet practice. Of course, at my age, I cannot fast like Valentina does, but Valentina, what's your take on fasting?
Yeah, I love fasting. I'm really fond of it, you know, kind of, and even, I mean, whenever I don't know what to do, you know, and I realize that any negative emotional state for me can be really kind of cleaned through fasting. You get a lot of clarity. And again, we have a brain there, yeah? That's why we really call it clarity. And we have to just pay attention and notice all the processes that take place in our being while we fast, you know, and the way you start and end the fasting, especially if it's like 3 days or 7 days, it's important. You have to start gradually. So if what to do also, it's excellent, the intermittent fasting. For me, fasting at least 24 hours, that's magic already, And we have groups where we do at every solstice and equinox, this 3 days fasting. And we do special meditations on various things, especially on Ajna chakra.
So
So there's a lot of things, and let me tell you, there are even clinics, that are built in the woods or in the middle of nature, where people just go to these clinics. I saw some documentary years ago, and it stayed in my mind, in Russia. So people fast and meet for different practices in nature, walks in nature, even dancing. They meet for eating, and they just eat their soup, which is water only. There's a lot of study on the fasting, and people with any kind of problems, any kind of disease, it's getting a lot of benefit. It's just our mind that is, and also of course all these cravings that we are used to, all this sugar, which will cause us some craving. But again, it's wonderful, it's excellent how it triggers the pancreas to regenerate itself, also, and which controls which
insulin
to control blood sugar levels and even reverse symptoms of diabetes. There are many. There's study on Parkinson and Alzheimer's disease also. That again, fasting can have really tremendous effect on the brain. For me, that's my favorite thing, But it's having on anything else,
So fasting, while we're fasting, though, it's not that we don't have anything. We should have some question here: water or tea, just something that doesn't trigger the breaking the fast. That's correct?
Water, and especially warm water if possible, because that's facilitating many. I mean, it's even in Ayurveda we recommend warm water, and in Chinese medicine also, because usually people lack this fire, the digestive fire. So if you use warm water, even in the morning, usually you get up and you start drinking some warm water, at least the first part of the day, that will help, because again, you start bringing some heat in your body as well, with warm water. We usually just go to the fridge to just grab some cold water, but it's not helping us so much, So water, I recommend water. And then of course there are fasting with juices according to the problems, according to, there are people who fast with various juices and they heal themselves from ulcer, So there are many, many types of fasting, but my favorite and the quickest effect is through fasting with water.
Okay, you mentioned in the book the role of intuition in terms of integrative health. I think that would be something interesting for people to learn about, because people usually don't think about their intuition. They think about, I thought something was going to happen and then it happened. They got a feeling, and that's a good thing, like psychic almost. But intuition can impact your health also, because it's about your overall awareness and your part of your consciousness that is more. You have that emotional intelligence, emotional awareness. Talk to us about that.
It is very, very important to bring intuition in, and Valentina already, I also mentioned intention. That's where intention can be invited, and we have a procedure to invite intuition. We start with inspiration. People should always inspire themselves, especially in the morning. When you wake up, nature walk, listen to classical music, soothing, look at flowers. This is why flowers are so good. Indoor flowers are wonderful to look at. Most important, loved ones. Look at their faces, laugh, smile, inspiration. And then you make intention, that's a private affair, personal first, but then realize that this personal intention is too focused on an outcome. It's not told that way. We must give up the complete focus on the outcome, but the outcome, let it be good. Let it be good for everyone. So we generalize that focus on only my particular outcome, give up that focus. And next, we really pray. This is where the ancient system of prayer comes in. We really pray that let this generalized intention be in consonance with the movement of consciousness, because what consciousness will do is what will give us the outcome. The outcome is creative. Creativity comes from consciousness directive, from that wholeness. That's what I'm inviting. So I have to be in tune with the movement of consciousness. This is why prayer becomes the third step, and the final step is silence, meditation, just waiting for the intuition. If we do this regularly for about few minutes every day, I guarantee you will eventually start getting intuition. But that does not stop the process. Intuition is just the beginning of the creative process. Intuition tells you what you should focus on. You freed your will, your will become free with consciousness. Consciousness gave you intuition, that's the feedback. And now it's your job to creatively make the intuition come to your life in actualized form. That requires creative process.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's also, wait, Robert, so it's a process of nourishing the bodies. Yeah, we speak about the nutrition for all the bodies. Yeah, the physical body and so on. So this is nutrition, nourishing for the supramental body, which this is the intuitive mental, the supramental body. We all have it, you know. So all this nourishment for the supramental level, which involves, again, focus on intuition, intuitive thoughts, noble feelings, yeah, and then engaging what is called situational creativity, at least if you're not in a, I don't know, very severe health situation, when that requires fundamental creativity, which goes very deep, you're really changing your life. But even situational creativity, which again, it's intuition, intention, all this, what Amit described is part of it, yeah. So in this way, you follow up the intuitions with the creative process, you know, and that's, again, we will find in the book about this do lifestyle, you know, so not just do, and you get to the crisis situation, you're doing attentive and you're being relaxing. Yeah? You are creating it in this way, you're preparing for the flow experience when you're really kind of dancing with this intuition, with yourself. So, yeah.
Okay, oh, I love it. Do. As I always think about Dr. Goswami and Valentina. The quantum integrative medicine, the new paradigm for health, disease prevention, and healing. I just want to tell everybody up there, I read the book, and it's a user-friendly book. So if some of these concepts, and we've trying to be breaking them down so you can really grasp them here, because, you know, for some folks, they may not be that familiar with them, but it's all about how to take care of yourself, being conscious, being aware, and being full of love. And I think that's the start and the end of everything when it comes to your health. I want to just a quick shout out to Dr. Goswami, because I had two robotic surgeries on my kidneys in 2014, and it went out, they went fine. And afterwards, I was speaking with Dr. Goswami on one of the shows, one of our interviews, and he said, you know what, you should really check out integrative medicine and New York Integrative Medicine Center and Ayurvedic medicine, because what you want to do is really make sure that this can't come back again. So you want to work about your field, your body field, your consciousness field, and work on that, cleanse that. So what happened can't happen again, because you have to make sure it's like agriculture almost, where you want to make sure that field is pristine so it can only grow the good stuff, not the weeds. And so I took him up on that, and I went through the protocol, and here I am. I've been clean for years, and that's not even an issue anymore. That's just something that happened in my past. So thank you so much, Dr. Goswami. Thank you, Valentina. I love having you guys here on the show, and I just want to make it simple for our listeners, because you guys are so smart, and I'm not that smart, and I know my listeners are smarter than me, but I want to bring them concepts that they can work with. So again, the name of the book, Quantum Integrative Medicine. One of my heroes, Dr. Amit Goswami and Valentina Onisor. Here's the book here, and where can they find it?
I think they can pre-order it on Amazon. It's not yet. I mean, I don't even have the book yet.
Okay, but what's your website?
In April. So Monkfish are the publishers, right? So
Okay.
they pre-published the book. We didn't get it yet. So
okay. What's the website so they can find out more about you guys?
amitgoswami.org. And you have to find that we have a university which is offering master's and PhD degrees now in psychology, in human sciences.
Okay.
So, it's again the furthest.
You're both all over social media, so you can look on Valentina and Dr. Amit Goswami. And I love you guys. Thank you for being here again. And we'll do it again with the next book. All right.
Great. Good to be here, Robert.
If you enjoy the guests and content I bring you each and every week to Guys Radio and Guys TV, please support us by following and subscribing to our platforms. Thank you.